Movie soundtracks are usually just mood setters. But today, we're diving into an explainer on Chapter 3 of our source material. We're going to see how the original songs, specifically the lyrics written and composed by Ryuho Okawa, literally construct the massive universe of the laws of the universe, the Age of Elohim. Here, the music isn't just background noise, it is the actual blueprint. The source text actually describes these lyrics as words of enlightenment and beautiful vibrations from the heavenly realm. So we're not just talking about some catchy tunes here. These songs are the foundational pillars. They completely dictate the spiritual worldview and establish the rules of this universe before you even see a single frame of animation. And there's this really fascinating editor's note that reveals the timeline. These original songs were created prior to the film's production. Think about that for a second. The music came first. They were engineered specifically to encode the central ideologies, the deep character psychology, and the boundless compassion of the Elohim universe right from the start. Okay, so let's jump right into Layer 1, the divine mission. Looking at this from a macro universe perspective, Elohim's theme is what establishes our overarching cosmic themes. The lyrics say, Elohim, beyond all races and skin colors, to make it a planet of love, you devoted everything. The text is framing Elohim not just as some distant, detached creator, but as the ultimate, unifying force for the entire earth. And this really illustrates the true depth of that commitment. The source establishes Elohim as the very source of love, vowing to never abandon the earth, even if it turns into a valley of suffering. This isn't conditional love, you know? It encodes a lore of absolute, unyielding divine protection. The really crucial takeaway from this macro level is a profound philosophical argument. It tells us that true justice lies way beyond mere good and evil. It's proposing that through love, humanity can actually understand God and see a higher, much more complete form of justice. Moving right along to Layer 2, the warrior's resolve. Now we're shifting our focus from that macro divine level down to the individual warriors on the ground. Pangle's theme offers this really unique facet of justice. The lyrics declare, being a woman is not a weakness, love and courage surging through my whole body. It portrays a deeply internal, maternal kind of strength that's fueled by an intense desire to protect. Notice the textual command here for Pangle to literally strengthen her heart and fight against universal evil. The song roots her formidable power in compassionate defense. Basically, her strength isn't about aggression at all. It's completely about an unbreakable inner fortitude and the will to shield others. But then we get a massive contrast with Yaizael's theme. It goes, invincible on the ground, but once you take off into the sky, you are also invincible on the sky. Unlike Pangle's internal resolve, Yaizael's campaign song is just explosive. It's entirely externally focused and absolutely dripping with this overwhelming, invincible combat energy. These lyrics create such a fascinating duality in the lore's approach to defense. On one side, we have Pangle's emotional shielding and internal courage. And on the exact opposite side, we have Yaizael's aggressive external dominance, literally smashing all evils, demons, and space aliens. The universe absolutely requires both of these forms of justice to survive. Next up is Layer 3, Sacrifice and Rebellion. Diving into the absolute deepest spiritual layer of the lyrics, the image song The Beginning Jesus explores a super heavy thematic principle, the idea that the material world is an illusion. The song explicitly states that earthly defeats are just temporary, and that worldly status, honor, or wealth, none of that can follow a soul into the next world. The lyrics sum it up perfectly by saying, discarding everything means gaining everything. The source material uses this song to frame sacrifice not as some tragic loss, but as the ultimate spiritual victory. In this lore, letting go of the material world is literally the foundation of realizing divine love. But, as we know, every great universe has its light, and it also has its dark. So we pivot to the tragic counter-narrative presented in the fallen angel's theme. This illustrates the catastrophic dark side of spiritual ambition when it entirely loses sight of divine love. The source recounts the story of a beautiful youth who became completely blinded by God's glory. This character attempted a revolution because they fundamentally misunderstood the divine intention. They were seeking status and power, which directly contradicts that whole lesson of sacrifice we were just talking about. And the emotional fallout of that rebellion is incredibly profound. The text says, faith must overcome family bonds. This is the deeply heartbreaking core of these lyrics. It depicts a scenario where a twin soul must painfully sever familial ties and literally wield a sword against a brother to protect true faith. The world building here is just incredibly personal and raw. Bringing it all together now, in Section 4, the structural pillars of the narrative. So we have the divine philosophy set by Elohim at the very top. Then the facets of justice embodied by Pangle and Yaizael. And finally, the spiritual duality of sacrifice versus ambition, seen through Jesus and the fallen angel. It becomes so clear that these distinct lyrical themes are like interlocking puzzle pieces. They serve as the literal textual blueprints of the story's worldview. So it leaves us asking, how does embedding core spiritual philosophies within music actually change the way we internalize a story's ultimate message? When the very rules of a universe are sung to us rather than just spoken, it bypasses the logical brain and hits straight at our emotions. It's an absolutely powerful tool for world building. Thanks so much for joining me on this explanator, and keep questioning the worlds built around you.